As in the case of the saint of yesterday, St. Alphonsus, Providence worked in unexpected and strange ways to bring about what heaven wanted. Initially, a legal blunder led the brilliant young Alphonsus on another way. It was to be the way of the church and foundation. So to this young Marist, Peter Julian Eymard, normally would have gone into normal Marist oblivion. But it was not to be so, for the Lord put something on his heart, as indeed he did with the young sister Teresa, Mother Teresa by now, of Calcutta, a call within a call. She could have been forgotten as an ordinary teacher with the Loreto sisters, but that was not to be either. So, initially, the young and holy Marist priest thought that he would have something in particular within his congregation, the Marist Fathers, which would be not only Marian but also very much Eucharistic, and that they could specialize in that with his help. But then it became clear that the Lord was calling him to do something juridically separate. The only thing was that it involved getting approval. So he was trying to get the approval of the Archdiocese of Paris. He wrote to the Archbishop and was hoping for an encounter, eye to eye. He eventually got to the door of the Archbishop's palace, and what was his surprise when the Archbishop himself came to the door, which would not have been the normal run of things. The reason was that the Archbishop was entertaining that day a very important and high-ranking noble guest. So courtesy meant that not his butler, but he himself should see him to the door. And who was at the door but this Peter Julian? And the Archbishop had already thought about what he had heard from the letter, and he had decided against it. So he wouldn't be inclined to entertain this young priest. The only thing was that because of the encounter at the door, he had already a foot in that door, and the Archbishop was going to dismiss him and liquidate him just with this. I have considered carefully your request, good priest, but I believe that we already have plenty of foundations of contemplative religious in the area, and we don't need yet one more. Your Grace, he piped up, that is not exactly the full story. Oh, no, I had intended that while being anchored in the adoration of the Blessed Sacrament, my priests would be very much also available to service at your disposal. Oh, indeed. And so he took him in and listened to what the young priest had to say, and the rest is history. God has his ways. I used to like going in student days in Rome to their church, which wasn't too far from our college, and there was a wonderful atmosphere of adoration, very Roman in style, the sacrament in a monstrance, a glorious monstrance, high, 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 high up. And there were other churches also in Rome where you could see the influence of Eucharistic devotion even in the architecture. What is called a ciborium. It's one of these ornate thrones for the Blessed Sacrament where it can be exposed for a long time, for 40 hours, up in the Tridentine-looking churches in Rome and Italy in general. And this was the way that it was done for a long time, following the thrust given to devotion to the Blessed Sacrament by the Council of Trent. We must remember that in the Middle Ages, things weren't exactly as they were now in our churches. For centuries, as one can see in old Anglican churches, which are actually Catholic in origin, The sacrament would have been oftentimes an aumbry in the wall in the sanctuary area, but not centre stage. This centralising of things came with the Council of Trent, it seems, and remained with us. In fact, Pope Benedict wanted that the Blessed Sacrament should have pride of place in the church, and that one should see it immediately. They have taken the Lord away, and I do not know where they have put him, moaned the Magdalene. This we can claim, and we can remember also on this day, the 2nd of August, another great saint who loved Jesus in an intimate way, Francis of Assisi. And in the church that he had himself rebuilt, he prayed that a favour would be given there, that those who went in there would receive complete pardon of not only the guilt but also the temporal consequences, the punishment. It was a great thing that he was asking, the Lord admitted, but because of his great love he was granted this, and it was sealed by Pope Honorius III. So we can gain this indulgence by going now not only to that church, and indeed not only to a Franciscan church, but any parish church, and reciting there on this day one Our Father and one Creed. One also prays for the Holy Father's intentions. One goes to confession around this time and receives Holy Communion, and one is, as far as possible, free from all attachment to even venial sin. Otherwise it will not pass. This then is the grace to be asked for, that we will have a love for Jesus, and where else do we find him but in the tabernacle, centre of the church, and indeed of the cosmos. Make me a channel of your peace, where there is hatred, let me bring your love, where there is injury, your pardon, Lord, and where there's doubt, true faith in you. Make me a channel of your peace, where there's despair in life, let me bring hope, where there is darkness, only light, and where there's sadness, ever joy. O Master God, that I may never sing, so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love with all my soul. Make me a channel of your peace. It is in pardoning that we